Okay, please do not post your marks on the chat. I don't want any boasting or roasting here. Yeah, Japet, that is the NCRT question. Someone asked a doubt on WhatsApp, so I thought I'll clarify the doubt here. Girish Khanna, can you explain about vector multiplication? Vector multiplication is not something that we will be using until we come to work per energy chapter and next rotational dynamics chapter. So I think we will reserve it to then. Okay. For now, we saw very basic of dot product, scalar product of vectors. Very basics of that we saw in one of the previous sessions. Okay, so please take it. Manujit, don't worry, I'm not teaching anything new. You can take your break. I'll be just chatting around. Anjay, vector portions will mostly be resultant and components. That's all. Mostly only that much will be there. Kanish, today's class we will basically finish the third chapter. Sorry, the fourth chapter according to NCERT chapter textbook. Motion in 2 dimension we will formally close. We will do some relative motion questions. We will do that board problem. So that is pretty much today's agenda. Kaushik Babu. Sir, I can't understand addition of vectors under root. What do you mean addition of vectors under root? Kaushik Babu, what do you mean addition of vectors under root? Giri Prakash, do we have numericals on vectors? Yeah, why not? Kanish, what is your opinion about physics is somewhat a difficult subject? If any subject feels easy to you, you're not doing enough in the subject. That's all it means. Okay. If something feels difficult, something feels tough, it means you are getting into it. Okay. Now, whether you want to get more into it or not depends on your curiosity, whether you want to do it or not. That's all. So, difficult as in, yes, all subjects are difficult. And at the same time, all subjects are easy also. The sum can by root of 3a bar by 1 plus 1 by root 3b bar. Was there a question like that, Kaushik? Okay, okay. So maybe that could be this kind of a question. That could have been root 3a bar, not root of 3a bar. This is not the case. This could have been the case. Yeah. So you understand what is 3a bar, na? Multiplying 3 to a bar gives you another vector which has 3 times the magnitude as a bar. Similarly, multiplying root 3 will give you a vector that has root 3 times the magnitude of a bar. That's all. Just here 3 is a number, root 3 is also just a number. Don't have to be any discriminative against it, okay? You can multiply any real number to a vector and it will still be a vector. So if it was 2a bar, what would you do? Same thing you do with if it was root 3a bar or root 2a bar. The break over, sir, a couple of minutes. What is meant by integration in motion in one dimension? I have never heard of it. Integration is a mathematical concept. Integration is a mathematical concept. Like multiplication, addition, etc. You have something called differentiation and integration, which come under the branch of mathematics called calculus. Okay, there's no such thing as integration in motion in one dimension. This is like a tool. Anything that you learn in mathematics is a tool. You can use it anywhere, not just in motion in one dimension. You can use it anywhere you want. So integration is just a mathematical tool. Okay, like addition, subtraction, etc. Good afternoon, Devanand. How to use it? Can you please tell, sir? It was already taught, Raghavendra. I think Murli sir has already taught it. We don't know about differentiation, but is coming in our part of physics, sir. See, I'll do one thing. I'll talk to Murli sir and I'll ask him how much of differentiation and integration that he has done. Okay, based on my talk with him, I will do a very quick recap of differentiation and integration. Okay, so I will not be able to teach it again fully. That will take a couple of weeks. So I don't want to do that. So I'll do a quick recap. Okay, if you go to Learnity Educational channel on YouTube, you should be able to find those videos which Murli sir had been teaching you guys, the calculus videos, basics of calculus. Okay, so check them out. You might find information on differentiation and integration there. If he did not teach integration yet, or if I took over before he could teach that, I will teach it to you. But give me some time. I'll have to talk to him about it. Yeah, okay. Don't worry. We'll take care of it. I will talk to him and I will take care of it. He taught up to h limiting to 0. That is the definition of differentiation, and that's all you may need. Well, let us see. Integration is not taught. Okay, even I am not going to teach integration to the fullest. I will also have to teach integration as a process that is opposite to differentiation. That's all. Reduce my speed of teaching or speed of talking, Tanish? Do you want me to reduce my speed of teaching or reduce the speed of talking? Both. Okay, all right. See, if you had been doing that homework that I had been giving you, we are on right track. We are on correct pace. So do not worry. Okay. Ashwadi Iyer, we have finished almost like chapter 4 of NCERT textbook. Okay, we have almost finished until chapter 4 of NCERT textbook. Okay, so I think our guys are back. Maybe we can start the class. Okay, Balmurugan asks, what is the centripetal acceleration, sir? It is asked in a homework question. Okay, it is, I mean, I gave the homework directly from the textbook only. So that is why the question was there. Centripetal acceleration is a part of chapter 4 that we will learn. We will learn it when you learn uniform circular motion. I was planning to teach uniform circular motion along with forces. Okay, so I was planning to teach it in the chapter 5. We will do it, don't worry. Balmurugan, don't worry. We have not yet taught it. Yes, Tashwit, that's right. For now, you don't need to answer them, Balmurugan, no issues. Okay, I'm closing the chat. We will start with doubts clarification. Yeah, good afternoon to all. So good afternoon all. All right, so I'm starting with a couple of doubts that were asked to me. I thought it would be nice if we discuss them here in the class itself. So these are the doubts. So first one, in a harbor, wind is blowing at a speed 72 kilometers per hour, and the flag on the mast of a boat anchored in the harbor flutters in the northeast direction. Now they did not specify any angle here. Okay, they did not specify any angle. I told you last class, if they say northeast or southeast or southwest or northwest without specifying an angle, it means 45 degrees, exactly between north and east. Okay, that's what it means. Huh. If the boat starts moving at a speed 51 kilometers per hour to the north, what is the direction of the flag on the mast of the boat? We saw a very similar question in the last class. This one, we saw a very similar question. We worked it out, but this question felt more like a one-dimensional problem. Actually, this is also two-dimensional only. This is eastwards and this is northwards. That is also not along a straight line. That is also two-dimensional. So yeah, someone asked it. We'll solve it. See, again, the flag here flutters because of two reasons. Okay, reason one being the wind. Because of the wind, the flag flutters. Reason one. Reason two being the boat's motion. Okay, and how are these reasons? In whatever direction the wind blows, the flag also flutters in the same direction with the same velocity. Reason two, boat's motion. In whatever direction does the boat move, the flag flutters in the opposite direction with the same speed as the boat's motion. Okay, so I could say velocity of the flag due to wind. Velocity of the flag due to the wind. Here I am not talking about boat's motion at all. So what they are saying, in a harbor, wind is blowing at a speed 72 km per hour, and the flag on the mast of a boat anchored in the harbor. The boat is anchored, so the boat is not moving at all. So whatever happens to the flag happens only because of the wind, which means the velocity of the flag due to the wind is nothing but 72 kilometer per hour, but in what direction? Northeast direction. I'll draw something like this. Northeast direction would be exactly at an angle 45 degree between north and east. You know north and east, right? This is east. This is north. Okay, this is west and this is south. Remember, all these four directions, north, east, west, south, all these four directions are in the horizontal plane. Understood or not? South, west, east, north, all four directions are horizontal only. So when you sit or stand, okay, all these four directions are in the horizontal plane. When you swing your hand in the horizontal plane, that is where you find these directions. Okay, north is not towards the sky. Vertical means towards the sky or down into the earth. Vertical means towards the sky or down into the earth. Okay, see, Chennai is to the north of Trichy. If you want to go to Chennai, you have to go north. Going north doesn't mean going up. That is different. So clearly understand the difference between up and north. Okay, so when I'm drawing this on the paper, maybe your monitor, your desktop monitor or phone monitor, whatever it is, maybe the monitor you have placed it as a vertical plane. Therefore, the north may feel vertical. North is actually not vertical. Try to understand north, west, south, east, all four are horizontal directions. Okay, so let us clarify that. Okay, so the wind is blowing at a direction, in a direction 45 degree between north and east with a speed of 72 kilometer per hour. Now, how do I write it as a vector? To be able to write it as a vector, you have to split it into components. One component is this, 72 cos 45 degree. The other component is this, 72 sin 45 degree. Okay, so you can say velocity of the flag due to the wind is equal to 72 cos 45 degree I cap plus 72 sin 45 degree j cap. Okay, you know what is cos 45 degree? Cos 45 degree is 1 by root 2. Okay, 72 by root 2 into I cap plus sin 45 degree is also 1 by root only. So 72 by root 2 j cap. Now 72 can be written as 36 times 2, 36 into 2. That 2 by root 2 is nothing but root 2. So this is again, okay, if you simplify it, it will come to be 36 root 2 I cap plus 36 root 2 j cap kilometer per hour. So this is the velocity of the flag due to the wind. Okay. There is another velocity also for the flag. Velocity of the flag due to boat's motion. Velocity of the flag due to boat's motion. Now we understood that velocity of the flag due to the boat's motion is minus of velocity of the boat itself. Okay. But velocity of the boat is what here? The boat starts moving at a speed 51 kilometer per hour to the north. So the boat is moving towards north. Okay, so minus of boat is moving towards north, which with the velocity 51. North means we write j cap. So minus 51 j cap kilometer per hour. Understood or not? 51 j cap is the velocity of boat. Velocity of the flag due to the boat's motion is minus 51 j cap. Okay, so now both these velocities are velocities for the flag only. So therefore, total velocity of the flag, is just the sum of both these velocities. So answer would be 36 root 2 I cap plus 36 root 2 j cap minus 51 j cap kilometers per hour. This is the total velocity of the flag. Okay, so 36 root 2 I cap. If you calculate 36 times 1, I mean root 2 is like 1.414 and all that. If you multiply, it will be very, very close to 51. Okay, 36 root 2 is very, very close to 51. And therefore, this minus 51j and plus 51j get cancelled. So the velocity of the flag totally is going to be 36 root 2 I cap. In fact, you can again write this 36 root 2 as 51. So the velocity of the flag is 51 I cap kilometers per hour. But what is the question here? What is the direction of the flag on the mast of the boat? In which direction does the flag flutter now? Total velocity. What is the direction here? I cap. I cap means what direction? According to our convention. I cap means eastwards. Okay, so that's all answer. So the answer is eastwards. Understood? Okay, up to here is the solution. This is the answer. Solution is the way to find an answer. Answer is what you have to give for a question. So distinguish between those two. Now, if you stop the question here, if you stop your work here, that's only the solution. That will not give you full marks because that is not what is asked. Okay. It was that easy, yes. And you guys think that physics is difficult. What can you do? Okay. So move on. So that is one question. Doubts? Okay. Another question. Just a second. We'll do this question. We'll do question 3 first. Okay. We'll do this question. Two parallel rail tracks run north-south. Train A moves north with a speed 54 kilometers. Okay. All right, so we are here. So two parallel rail tracks run north-south. Train A moves with a velocity, with a speed 54 km per hour northwards, and train B moves southwards with a speed 90 km per hour. What is the velocity of a monkey running on the top of a train A against its motion with a velocity 18 km per hour with respect to train A, as observed by a man standing on the ground? Okay, so these were the questions. That was the question. Those are the details. Okay, given. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so the question is this. So I can draw north-south like this. So this direction is the north and this direction is the south, let us say. And there are two trains. Okay. There is one train A and there is another train B. Train A moves north with a speed 54 kilometers per hour. Now, it is not given in the question that measurement 54 kilometers per hour northwards is measured with respect to what observer. It is not given, which means it is with respect to the ground. Okay, so they have given this velocity of train A with respect to the ground is given as what? 54 northwards. We can write it as 54 j cap kilometers per hour. 54 j cap kilometers per hour. This is given. What else is given? And train B moves south at a speed of 90 kilometers per hour. Similarly, train B with respect to the ground again, because with respect to whom is not given, which is equal to 90 kilometers per hour southwards. So if north is j cap, south would be minus j cap. Okay, the convention that we are using is north is plus and south is minus. So north is j cap. That is what you are using here. Now, question is, what is the velocity of a monkey running on the top of a train A against its motion with a velocity of 18 km per hour with respect to train A? So they have given you velocity of monkey with respect to train A. This is given. Okay, velocity of monkey with respect to train A is given, and it is equal to how much? 18 kilometers per hour. But in what direction? What is the velocity of a monkey running on the top of a train A against its motion? A is moving northwards. So train, I mean, they mean to say that the monkey is moving against the motion of the train A, which means southwards. So minus j cap is the direction. You understood this or not? What is the velocity of the monkey running on the top of a train A against its motion with a velocity? See, you may think, sir, the velocity of the monkey is given here. Why are they again asking the velocity of the monkey only here? They have given you the velocity of the monkey with respect to train A. They are asking you the velocity of monkey with respect to a man standing on the ground. So they are asking, they have given you velocity of monkey, they are asking you for velocity of monkey, but in two different perspectives, in two different references. Okay, they have given you that the velocity of monkey with respect to train A is 18 km per hour against its motion. So velocity of monkey A is 18 km per hour against the motion of the train A. Train A is moving northwards. So the monkey must be moving southwards. So I'll write it as minus 18 j cap. Now what is the question? Don't worry about brackets now. What is the question? What is the velocity of a monkey running on the top of train A as observed by a man standing on the ground? Man standing on the ground is same as the ground itself. Okay. The ground is at rest, the man is also at rest. They are both same observers, similar observers. So what is asked of you? You are asked to find the velocity of the monkey with respect to the ground. This is the question. You are supposed to find velocity of the monkey with respect to the ground. Okay. Now, you have been given three things and you are supposed to find this. See what you can use and how you can use it. Okay. We already wrote about this. Velocity of A with respect to ground means velocity of A bar minus velocity of ground bar. Velocity of B with respect to ground means velocity of B bar minus velocity of ground bar. Velocity of monkey with respect to A means velocity of monkey bar minus velocity of A bar. These three are known. Using these three, all three or any two or any one, anything. Using these three, how will you find velocity of monkey vector minus velocity of ground vector? Think about it. You have to find Vm minus Vg. How you can do? Check it out. Okay. See, I have Vm minus Va here. I have Vm minus Va. I also have Va minus Vg. I need to calculate Vm minus Vg. So from these two expressions, if I eliminate Va, then I should be able to write an expression in terms of Vm and Vg. Okay. How do we eliminate these two? How do we eliminate Va from these two? There is Va here. There is a minus Va here. So if you simply add these two, you will get what? The Vs and Vs get cancelled, leaving you Vm minus Vg, which is exactly what we want. So all you have to do to calculate the velocity of monkey with respect to ground, you just have to add velocity of monkey with respect to train A and velocity of train A with respect to velocity of ground. Okay, you just have to add these two. Add 54 j cap minus 18 j cap kilometers per hour, which is 36 j cap kilometers per hour. Velocity of monkey with respect to the ground, or monkey with respect to, or monkey as observed by a man standing on the ground is moving at a speed 36 j cap kilometer per hour. This is solution. This is only solution. What is the answer? Answer would be 36 kilometers per hour northwards. This would be your answer. This is the answer. Okay, because J cap is a convention. J cap is a convention that we are using. So the answer is in terms of J cap, which is not given in the question. So your answer cannot be in terms of J cap. Okay, J cap is something that you have assumed for the sake of solving the problem. So try to interpret that solution and answer according to the question. Get it? So why train B velocity is given? Okay, this is actually an NCERT question. This is actually an example question in NCERT textbook. And there are more questions to this. Question A, question B, question C. Karke. So velocity of B, train B is used in one of those questions. That is why it's given. It was not useful for this particular question. That's all. Okay, so that is this doubt. This doubt is asked by one girl. I think they were solving some problems from a website or some book, some other book, whatever the source is. I thought this question was good, so I brought it here. Okay, this is a tricky question, so don't go to the chat and all. Just listen here. At the end of the solving, at the end of solving this, I'll ask if you understood it or not. Then you respond. Okay. So this question: a particle is projected from ground as shown. This particle. Okay, a particle is projected from the ground as shown. This particle, 10 meter per second speed, with an making an angle 53 degree above the horizontal. You know about 53 degree, no? Sin 53 degree is equal to 4 by 5. Cos 53 degree is equal to 3 by 5. That thing. Okay. So a particle is projected as shown from the ground. The particle and the wedge. A wedge is nothing but an inclined plane. Any inclined plane is called as a wedge. Okay. See, wedges are usually used as door stoppers. Okay. Wedges are used as door stoppers. To stop a door from moving, they kind of put that wedge under the door. It stops it. Or maybe if you had participated in a chariot pulling inside in front of a temple or something, to turn the chariot around the corner, they use wedges. Or if you happen to see, if you happen to pass by a bike showroom, okay, a motorcycle showroom, where they brought in new stocks, okay, those bikes from the truck is unloaded by means of or by using an inclined plane. There's a ramp, and from the ramp, the bikes are brought down. That ramp is called as an inclined plane. So any inclined plane, any flat surface that is placed either horizontally or vertically is called as an inclined plane. That inclined plane is also called as wedge. Okay. So the particle and the wedge. So there is apparently a wedge here. It is not fixed. There is a wedge here, and it is moving at a speed of 1 meter per second as shown. They start moving. The wedge starts moving exactly at the moment this particle is projected. They're asking you to find this height. Okay, what is the maximum height of this inclined plane so that the particle will not hit the plane. So if the particle moves, I mean, it goes in its projectional path, and as the wedge keeps moving, when the wedge comes here, the particle should go over it. Okay, so that is what I drew in this picture here. I already wrote the solution, so I'm not going to write it again. Can you see this lettering? Can you see that picture clearly? Are the letters clear? Can you see the picture clearly? I'm not able to maximize it anymore. That is the biggest size I can get it to. Okay, so the solution would be this. Okay. Okay, so it is trying to get transparent. Okay. Okay, so it's always, is there a property that it can stay on top? No, it can't. Anyway, okay, see here. Can you see a cursor or something? You can't see clearly. Okay, see, I'll try to maximize it further. You should be able to see it now. It's not 100% clarity. It's not like 4K resolution. Don't like bear with me. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you can see a cursor, but anyway. So you see that I have taken G is equal to 10 meter per second square downwards. I have written sine 53 degree equal to 4 by 5, sine cosine of 53 degree equal to 3 by 5, etc. I just drew a vector. I just drew the same diagram here. Okay, and I'm marking this height of the inclined plane as h. Okay, and base of the inclined plane as b. Okay, sorry. I'm writing the base of the inclined plane as b. Okay, so the base of the inclined plane is b. Height of the inclined plane is h. Okay, that is initial position of the particle and the wedge. Okay, so apparently you can zoom my screen. So please do that. Thank you. Okay, so initial setup is as shown. After time t, I'm redrawing the situation. Okay, I'm redrawing the wedge and the particle's position after a time t. How much time is that? I don't know. We will calculate it. Okay, let us say after time, the wedge would have moved to a certain distance. Correct? In time t, right side I have written. See, in time t, the wedge moves a distance. How much? Distance is equal to speed into time. Is it not? Distance is nothing but speed into time. So in time t, the wedge moves a distance of 1 into t is equal to t. So I have drawn, look at the diagram, second diagram. I have drawn distance d is equal to 1 into t equal to t. Okay, so the wedge has moved a distance t. But in the same time, okay, but in the same time, the particle would have moved horizontally as well as vertically. So it would have raised, it would have had a vertical displacement, it would have also had a horizontal displacement. Okay, now if the particle should not hit the inclined plane, I have to assume it will miss the inclined plane right at the top of the inclined plane. Okay, why can't it casually hit, casually miss the inclined plane? Why should it like, almost graze the inclined plane? We are considering the minimum case. Okay, we are just assuming that the particle just misses the inclined plane's top. That way we can take care of all other parameters. Okay, anyway, so I'm assuming the particle just reaches the top of the inclined plane in the same amount of time t, which means the particle must have had how much of a horizontal displacement? The particle should have had how much of horizontal displacement? See, initially there is a distance of 1 meter from the point of projection projection to the bottom of inclined plane. There is a distance of 1 meter. So in time t, the particle should cover that 1 meter. It should also cover the distance covered by the inclined plane, which is t meters. It should also cover the width of or base of the inclined plane, which is b, which means the total distance that the particle should have covered in the horizontal plane must be 1 plus t plus b. All that I wrote in the right side. Check it out. Assuming the particle just brushes the top of the wedge, then it has a horizontal displacement of 1 plus t plus b, okay, by then. And it should also have had a vertical displacement of h. If it is just brushing the top of the inclined plane, it should have a vertical displacement of h. That is the value of y, vertical displacement. Okay, so x value, horizontal displacement must be 1 plus t plus b. Vertical displacement y must be h. Okay, I will use those two here for the particle. Below the diagram, check below the diagram. For particle, x is equal to u cos theta into t. I think now I can use this. For the particle, x is equal to u cos theta into t. You remember this equation? These two equations are straight from projectile motion. That's all. Horizontal displacement x is equal to u cos theta into t. Vertical displacement u sin theta t minus half gt square. Okay. So we just understood that horizontal displacement of the particle is 1 plus t plus b, and u cos theta means 10 into cos 53 degree, 3 by 5 into t. 10 into 3 by 5 is 6. So 6 into t. So 1 plus t plus b is nothing but 6t. Upon 1 plus b equal to 5t. Let us say equation 1. We also have another equation. Y is equal to u sin theta t minus half gt square, vertical displacement equation. And from the diagram, y is nothing but h. So this is h. H is equal to 10 into, which is u. Sin theta is 4 by 5. 4 by 5 into t minus half g is 5. 5t square. Okay. So this is 8. So 8t minus 5t square. Let us say this is equation 2. Okay. Now we have a right angle triangle here. There must be a simple relation between h and b. In this right angle triangle, there is a simple relation between h and b here. H and b are the opposite and adjacent sides for 53 degree. So tan 53 degree must be equal to h by b. Tan 53 degree will be sine by cos, which is 4 by 3. So tan 53 degree is nothing but 4 by 3. So 4 by 3 is equal to 8t minus 5t square, which is here, divided by 5t minus 1. 5t minus 1 is c. 1 plus b equal to 5t. Upon b equal to 5t minus 1. So that I put. Okay. By doing cross multiplication, you get a quadratic expression. By doing cross multiplication, here you get a quadratic expression like this, quadratic equation like this. When you solve this, you will get time is equal to either 10 by 15 or minus 6 by 15. Okay, time is not going to be negative. So the required time t is 10 by 15 seconds. So we basically got the value for 10 by 15, I mean the time instant. But the question is not to find time. The question is to find the maximum height of the inclined plane. Okay, they're asking you to find the value of h. So h is equal to 8t minus 5t square. No, we already wrote an equation. From the second equation, we have h is equal to 8t minus 5t square. Now put this t in that, you will get the value 28 by 9 meters. Okay, the value would be equal to 28 by 9 meters. Okay, so that is something. I thought this question was interesting, so I basically shared it with you. So what I'll do, I'll put it here on the right side. So if the diagram that I drew gets covered, it's not a problem because the diagram is already in the paper. Okay. So when you have the access to this Jamboard, please go check it out. I think it is all very apparent. Okay. I think I'll just rub my diagram off. On the background, my diagram is there, so I don't want to confuse that with you with this. Get it? If you have any doubts, please ask. How to access this Jamboard, sir? The link is given in the Google Classroom. Do you see a lot of people here? At the top, do you see a lot of people collaborating? So they are all accessing this Jamboard right now. Please go check Google Classroom. I have given this link. Okay. So these are the 3 doubts I found a bit interesting. So that's done. Okay. So we will do the river problem, river boat problem, they call it. Just like rain problem, we have something called a very commonly asked question. You will find this question in most books, so useful. So what is H by B? Tan theta. There is no installation, Raghavendra. This is just Google tab. Okay. Okay. So river problem, again we have to start with the situation. What is given, what is not, and all that. Okay. So the question goes like this. Usually they say that there is a river. There is a river which flows, let us say, with a speed u as shown. There is a river which flows with a speed u, let us say. Okay. What does it mean? Is if there is an object floating on the river, if there is an object floating on the river, like a stationary boat or a thermocol piece, okay, something like that. If there is a stationary object on the river, I mean, if something is just floating, something that does not have a motor or swimming skills and all that, that will have to move along with the river because the river stream is moving in this direction. Anything that is dropped on the river that can float will also have to move along with the stream of the river. Downstream it is called. Okay, this direction is called downstream. This direction is called upstream. This is basic English only, right? In the direction of the stream is called downstream. Against the stream velocity is called upstream. That's all. This is a terminology. So let us say there is a river flowing in this direction with a speed u, as shown. Okay. Now let us say there is a location A on one of the banks. Okay, this is one of the banks. Bank, but look, bank is like shore, river banks. Okay, and if I draw a perpendicular to the stream passing through A, maybe it will touch the other bank at a point called B. So A and B are exactly opposite points on 2 banks across the river. Okay, AB line is perpendicular to the river flow. Let us see. Now, if I leave an object to float on the river here, it will have to move this way. If I am a person who can swim, okay, if I am a person who can swim in the river, and if I start swimming towards B, okay, I'm starting from A, and if I start swimming towards B, see, my target is to go to B. So I'll be giving my swimming strokes in this direction towards A. Right or not? Anybody who knows swimming knows that in any direction you give a stroke, the water will basically push you in the opposite direction. So to get to B, you have to have your strokes towards A. Okay, so anyway, you want to go towards B, but then you are not moving in the river only because of your ability. The river also has its own ability to move you. So when you are in water, okay, when you are in water, your velocity is due to your strokes, swimming strokes, and your velocity is also due to the stream of the river. Okay, stream of the river, this one, this word. Got it? So the velocity of you, like any person who is swimming, has 2 velocities helping him. So the person will have 2 velocities acting on him. Therefore, the person will have to abide by this velocity. He also has to move according to this velocity. Ultimately, he will end up moving as a resultant. Okay. So the person who can swim, the person who can swim at a speed v, let us say, a person who can swim at a speed v, let us say, if the person starts swimming towards B, he will also be acted upon by the stream velocity u, and he will ultimately move along this line. He will not move along the green line. He will not also move along the blue line. The person will have to swim, will actually end up swimming along the red color line, which is nothing but the resultant of V and U. Okay, resultant, you know resultant, no? So if you complete a parallelogram, this will be the diagonal. He will move, the swimmer has to move, will end up moving along the red color line. If you want to find what angle this is, theta, this is a simple right angle triangle, no? If this is theta, and if this is u and this is v, how can you find theta? Tan theta equal to u by v. From that you can find theta. So along the theta he will move. So if he actually moves along the red line, he will end up reaching this point here, which is like C. So the person started moving towards B. Okay, the person wanted to reach the point B on the other bank of the river. So he wanted to move towards B. So he gave himself a velocity towards B. But the river was also moving, and therefore his resultant velocity in water became along AC. Okay, so he will end up reaching point C, not exactly point B. Okay, so this is the distance by which he would miss the opposite point on the other bank. Distance D, let us say, that is the distance with which he will miss the point, opposite point on the other bank. Okay, how can I calculate the time? The velocity of the man with respect to river. Okay, I'll write like this. Velocity of the man with respect to the river is V. In whatever direction you take it, see, we have assumed that the person wants to move towards B. So he's making his strokes. He's giving himself a velocity towards B. Okay, so I am not going to put a direction here that changes from one question to another question. So for now, I'm saying this V means what? Velocity of the man with respect to the river. Velocity of the river itself with respect to what? With respect to ground. Okay, or a bank or a shore. In whatever question, in a question, whatever they give that one. So this is equal to u. Again, if the direction is mentioned in the question, you will have to give it a direction according to that question, whatever the question gave you. Okay, if it says east, you can put I cap. If it says north, you can put j cap or something like that. Okay, so velocity of river with respect to ground is u. This u. From our diagram, this u means the velocity of river with respect to ground. From our diagram, this v is nothing but velocity of man with respect to the river. Okay, then how do I find velocity of man with respect to the ground? That is the actual velocity of the man. How the man ends up moving with respect to a man on the ground, with respect to an observer on the ground. How does this man, or the swimmer, or a boat, whatever it is, okay? How does he or it end up moving? Velocity of the man with respect to the ground. How can you calculate it? Like we already did. Vm bar minus Vg bar. Velocity of man with respect to ground can be calculated using velocity of man minus velocity of river plus velocity of river minus velocity of the ground. This one and this one. If you simply add those two velocities vectorially, if you add those two velocities vectorially, you should be able to calculate the velocity of the man with respect to ground. And that is what we did here. That is what we exactly did here. So velocity of the man me? Sorry for the delay. Electricity issue, electricity and network issue. Okay, so I think we are here. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? I see some of us have left already, 30 of us almost. Okay, so we will do one thing. We will have this for, we will keep this for tomorrow. We will complete this tomorrow. I don't think we should continue with this because, you know, some of us have actually left already. We will continue with this tomorrow. Okay, don't bother. I will teach this again. Okay. I'll give you some homework today. Please get to the homework and try to do that. Yesterday there was a session from Mr. Shivraj, no? Will this come for the test, sir? Yeah, why not? This is a today mentions question only. This can come for the test. It's just one question. Please post the homework in Google Classroom also, sir. Surely, Shailesh, I will do that. I will do that, surely. How to find the ratio of time while free falling in 5 seconds and after 5 seconds. I don't understand. Ratio of time or ratio of distances, sir? Swatika? Swaitka or Swatika? How to find the ratio of distances? No? Ratio of time. Maybe this is what you want to find. Okay. First 5 seconds, next 5 seconds, distance 1, distance 2. What is the ratio? Correct? No? You want to find the ratio of D1 and D2 only, correct? No? Okay. Clearly D1 is equal to half G pi square, half GD square. D2 is equal to half G n square minus half G pi square. So D1 by D2 is equal to 1 by 3. Okay. We don't even have to do this. I already told you something called Galileo's law of odd numbers. I already told you something called Galileo's law of odd numbers. If an object starts from rest and accelerates uniformly, then the ratio of distances covered by it in successive time intervals of equal size are in the ratio of odd numbers 1:2, 3:2, 5:2, and so on. Okay, 5 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever. The distances will be in the ratio 1:3. That's all. They didn't ask ratio of time. It was a mistake. Vijay Rubesh. Why like that? That is because if u equal to 0 and you want to find Sn, okay? Sn will be Sn minus 1. So the distance covered in n seconds minus the distance covered in n minus 1 second. Okay, so if you calculate this, you will get half into a into n square minus of n minus 1 whole square, which will be a by 2 into 2n minus 1 Sn. Okay, so see, Sn is clearly proportional to 2n minus 1. A is constant. So Sn is nothing but proportional to 2n minus 1, which is an odd number. If you put n equal to 1, this will be 1. If you put n equal to 2, that will be 3. If you put n equal to 3, that will be 5 and so on. Okay, so S first, S second, S third, S fourth, this will all be in the ratio of odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7 and all that. Okay, if U is not equal to 0, this will not happen. If U is not equal to 0, this cannot happen. Okay, because there will be U here in front of this, there will be U here. If U equal not 0. Okay. Swatika, one more thing. You told freely falling objects. Okay. Swatika, you told about freely falling object or free fall. I already told you free fall need not be necessarily this. If U equal to 0 and A equal to down, you think this is free fall. This is not necessary. Only this is necessary. This is the only condition for free fall. If an object moves under the influence of gravity only, then you say it is in free fall. Okay, free fall does not necessarily mean that it is a dropped object. Initial velocity is 0, coming down with a uniform acceleration, no such things. Ratio of time taken by freely falling body to cover first meter, second meter. That will be interesting. No? First meter, 1 equal to half g t1 square. 2 is equal to half g, say t2 square. Second meter you want to do, huh? Yeah. From this you can say t1 is equal to root of 2 by g. From this you can say t2 is equal to root of 4 by g. You want t2 minus t1, which is root of 4 by g minus root of 2 by g. So this is the time taken for first meter. This is the time taken for the second meter. So t1 is 2. I mean t first is nothing but t1. Okay. T second meter is nothing but t2 minus t1. So t first, t2 is to t second is equal to root of 2 by g is to root of 4 by g minus root of 2 by g and so on. If you take root of 2 by g common, you will get 1 is to root 2 minus 1 is 2. Okay. If you want to do more, you can understand the pattern. Root 3 minus root 2 is to root 4 minus root 3 is 2 and so on. That will be the answer. Understood, Sadigan? The ratio of times taken to cover the first meter, second meter, third meter, and so on will be in the ratio this 1 is to root 2 minus 1 is to root 3 minus root 2 and so on. Okay. And this is not only for meter, but again the condition here is U must be 0, A must be constant, any constant, G or whatever. This is the condition to do this problem. Only then I can say S is equal to half AD square. Only if U equals 0, I can say S equal to half AD square. If U is not 0, I will not be able to do that. Okay. And it need not be first meter, second meter. Okay. It could be first 10 meters, second 10 meters, third 10 meters. It could be first 5 meters, second 5 meters. In any of these questions, the ratio is still the same. The ratio is still the same. What will happen? Instead of 1, you will put 10. Instead of 2, you will put 20. Then when you subtract the ratio, you are only going to put the ratio, no? So that common thing will get cancelled. That is all. Yeah. Madhumita, there was a question based on this in the test. Yeah, I think I saw it. I think I saw it, and with some logic, no, some common sense, you should be able to do this. You could have done this. Okay. Why we want to subtract, sir? See, 1 meter, okay, time taken T1. 2 meters, time taken T2. But you want to find the time taken for this second meter only, na? You want to find the time taken for second meter only, na? So this is the time taken for this is T second. So how will you find T second? This total time T2 minus T1. Total time T2. T2 is 2. T2 is the time taken to cover 2 meters. But you wanted to find the time taken to cover the second meter. So it will be T2 minus T1. Ashwin, sir, in which chapter Galileo's law of odd numbers are important? Arey, which chapter na? I don't understand. You read this in motion in one dimension. Wherever you talk about u equal to 0, a is constant, Galileo's law of odd numbers applies.